welcome to the Negotiator podcast. I'm Gitanjali Ponnappa, a seasoned negotiator and a management consultant with over 25 years of experience.
And I'm Gupta, a new manager and a negotiation newbie. Together, we're here to explore the intergenerational perspectives on women and people of color in negotiation, bridging our 20-year age gap.
In each episode, we aim to inspire women and people of color to reclaim power, offering practical tips and sharing personal stories so that we can set an example for future generations.
I'm excited about this episode. It's too soon to say that this is a favorite topic, but I will tell you the nerdy project manager in me is all geeked out by prep. I love prep.
So, if I understand correctly, today's episode is about preparation.
Exactly. So, how to prepare for a negotiation. You have a situation, you want to arrive at the solution. So, this episode is focused on why you should prep and very quickly how you should prep.
I think it comes at a perfect time because our last episode we introduced the concepts of BATNA and ZOPA, and now it's about how to actually apply them.
Exactly. So before we get into application, let's talk about the need for prep. There are people who, in quotes, wing it, and I'm not a fan of wing it at all. Because if something is important to you, like your career, there should be no winging it. You should prepare.
Agreed.
Now, preparation helps me with one of the biggest barriers to negotiation, which is fear. So if I prepare, I find that the perfect antidote to my fear. The other reason is, in the same way, when I prepare, the process of preparation actually just calms me down. And it helps me move away from this is this difficult, combative, I don't want to do this mindset to, oh, I got this. It's cool. It's calming.
So it actually helps you break the pattern of avoidance as well.
Yes, and I know you wanted to do an entire episode on procrastination.
Yeah.
So, okay, noted. We will do one on procrastination as well.
But to be honest, like when you talk about tackling your fear head on and also the psychological calming, I think I've definitely felt this in exam settings. So when I'm really, really well prepared, I have had times when I've been really excited to go to the exam theater because I want to take the exam because I'm already prepared. So I'm like, bring it on. So if we look at negotiations in the same way, I think that's something I can get behind.
Yeah. And I actually think that's a very good way of looking at it because let's take your exam situation. You're excited and you're saying bring it on because you were intellectually challenged.
Yep.
It stretched you. And I think preparation for a negotiation should also stretch you. It should be a challenge. It should be something where you sit down and you say, it feels like there's only one option. It feels like there's no going forward. But then you stretch yourself and you come up with options. So I find preparation actually gets me into like game mode. I'm excited to get on with it.
Yeah, and I think it reduces impulse then, right? So you don't make those impulsive emotional decisions, which I am famous for. No, I'm joking. I do make them emotionally sometimes, and I think it is a lack of prep and going with my heart over actually what the facts are. So the more you prep, the more you are able to make cognitive decisions as well.
So I think emotion, though, Abba, has a place. But preparation helps you decide what is the place for
Agreed.
that emotion.
Agreed.
So, fear is an emotion, anger is an emotion, excitement is an emotion.
Yes.
And all of them have a place. When I prepare, I plan to go into a negotiation like this is my plan, right? And sure, you might get punched in the face with your plan, but my plan is to actually go in being excited, but calmly excited. I plan to use anger as a tool, not because I am angry.
Absolutely.
I plan to show annoyance or sadness or disappointment because of the objective that, and then I genuinely might be disappointed, but I'm not taken off track by it.
Absolutely.
So there is a place for that emotion.
I completely agree. I think it's just what I meant to say is that when you prep, you found that place for your emotion and you use it to your benefit. Whereas you don't let it overtake your decision making.
Yeah, agreed. The last reason that I think I have for why I like to prep, I like to be in control. I like to have control on, as they say, the narrative. So if someone is being, let's say, too chatty, they already have a plan for how to handle that chat. Because I know that we need to log off this negotiation if it's online. We need to log off at a certain time. Or if it's over lunch, I know lunch is coming to an end. So I need to be prepared for the chatty person who doesn't. So I know how to handle that. I also maybe like the control of, you can get angry, but here's how I'm going to handle it. Right? So that control of having a plan with many variables, tackling all of those variables gives me the strength to go into a conversation quite calmly because of preparation.
I think I understand. And you had once mentioned to me that, like negotiations, they have some kind of, the main elements remain the same, but that there are differences in the way that a negotiation may play out, and there are things that are unique to each negotiation. So you also get to build that muscle the more you prepare. So if I understand correctly, you're saying that negotiation is a skill that can be learned.
100%. So I wasn't born a negotiator. Well, maybe I was. I don't know. But
should ask your mom.
Yeah, I know. But I do think I got into. So I'll give you an example. So I was a senior manager in Accenture. And to make the next level, you had to become a salesperson. Like you had to actually sell work and sell projects. And without even knowing what is sales, I just said, oh, I'm not a salesperson. And I kind of stepped back from making MD because I made some sort of odd, I don't even know what sales is, so I'm just going to not do it, right? Till my counselor at that time, very smart woman, who, by the way, I've never met. She was my counselor for 10 years, and I never met her. But she explained this very same thing to me, that sales is also just a muscle. Everything is a muscle. You can learn it. There's now no inherent talent at all. What it is knowing, like you said, the basic components, the methodology in quotes, certain tips and tricks, practicing it. And I believe that exactly that can be applied to negotiations. There's nobody born with it.
Okay.
So maybe there are, but you can also learn it.
I think a lot of the time we do think that people are born with it, and that is kind of the myth that we're trying to break here. And as you know, I'm a big foodie, so I'm going to try to understand this with a little bit of a metaphor. So if you're trying to bake a cake, for example, a good patissier would know that the basic ingredients are flour, eggs, sugar, probably some vanilla. So that would be those basic ingredients of a negotiation. So there would be certain elements which are the same. And then if you're baking a chocolate cake, you add some chocolate in it. If it's an almond cake, you're having, maybe the flour is almond flour. So you're kind of jazzing it up with different ingredients based on what kind of cake you want to bake. Is this metaphor kind of resonating with you?
So, yes. So let's talk about, like you said, almond flour needs an almond cake kind of a thing. In the previous episode, we talked about 3 fundamental concepts. So the concepts, whether it's an almond cake or if it's another kind of cake, stay the same. So in negotiation, the 3 concepts are BATNA, which we have talked about in the previous episode, which is the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. So knowing what my alternatives are. The second one is reservation price, which in a way is what I would like to call a walk away. So that's my limit. That's the
non-negotiable.
The non-negotiable. And the third one is ZOPA, zone of possible agreement. Okay, so if we're talking about work from home, even if I don't land at working from home 3 days a week and I land at 1, that's a zone. I'm okay with it, right? So these 3 concepts are like your cake baking.
Your flour, egg, sugar.
Your flour, egg, sugar. You need these 3 concepts. And if you have them, then you bake better.
I guess you don't try to bake without them.
Yes.
I don't know what you would bake.
Exactly, but I could. I'm just saying. If you didn't, exactly. See, there are options. There are alternatives. You could swap out your eggs for flaxseed, la-di-da-di-da. But fundamentally, that's the same thing. You need the 3 things. Here, in this case, the 3 things are partner, reservation price, and ZOPA. And if you haven't heard about these, please go back to the previous episodes and you can cover that off pretty quickly in a 30-minute podcast.
Absolutely. Sometimes, as I heard, Gitanjali listens to podcasts 2 times the speed.
Yes.
So it does sound like a little minion, but good luck.
I only listen at 2 times the speed. I don't record it 2 times the
No,
speed.
that's true. That's true. You have a detective approach. I know we've been speaking about it for a while at Negotiator. Do you want to maybe introduce that here?
Yes. So Negotiator is a concept.
Mm-hmm.
It's a concept that has several steps, and I'd like to unpack them for you.
Sure.
Now, the foundation of this is I built this from 25 years of doing consulting work where I have negotiated at a macro level, I've negotiated contracts.
Mm-hmm.
At a micro level, I have negotiated things like timelines. I have negotiated with people who want to be hired into my team. I have negotiated exits. I have negotiated how much this project should cost. I have negotiated people wanting to take more time for maternity leave, all of these things.
And for yourself.
And for myself, yes. And with those 25 years of doing this kind of negotiating and navigating this career in a very intense way in consulting, which consulting can be very intense, I also then applied research findings from Harvard, which is the Harvard Negotiations Institute. And I know you did your course at Cornell as well. So there's an academic part to it because at heart I'm a geek. I like to know where these concepts come from. Are they grounded in some sort of pragmatic, tested
Absolutely.
way? Right? Using them. So now let's talk about the detective approach. I want it to be like a metaphor. It's a visual. I want you to picture in your head this person who is a detective. So a detective is someone, with the classic picture of the magnifying lens.
Absolutely. Sherlock Holmes.
The Sherlock Holmes visual that you have.
Yeah.
That's the spirit that you want to have. Mm-hmm. That spirit is one of being inquisitive. Mm-hmm. It's being a question asker. Mm-hmm. It's being an answer seeker. Mm-hmm. It's being tremendously curious. So that's what the detective approach. It's just a metaphor for that sort of a mindset. A detective is a person who seeks to develop a deep understanding of the context of this negotiation, the person that they're negotiating with, and the people in the background who are playing into it. Mm-hmm. So that's what the detective approach in essence is. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. So 3 steps. Why 3? Because I think it's very pragmatic when you look at these things very rapidly. Mm-hmm. So that's the other key aspect of Negotiator is the approach is about rapid speed. It isn't about therapy where you take 6 months to work out something. By that, I'm not saying being shoddy, and I don't mean don't be deep. What I mean is be fast. Don't sacrifice speed for depth. Mm-hmm. Right?
So also to fail fast, so testing your approach.
Oh, I like that. Yes. So part of this is you have to test. So I might think a certain approach or an offer that I put on the table is the right one. But then somebody gives me a reaction, it's only the right one in my head. So you're right. It is about testing it. So it's speed and testing. So I want you to think about, you have a situation. So I'll ask you a situation later. You have a situation. You want to arrive at a solution. Mm-hmm. And like we talked about cake baking, like that, 3 things that you need to be able to do this. You have to assess the situation. What's going on? Who's playing in this park with me? What's up? Mm-hmm. That's your assessing the situation. Your second step is you need to generate options. Mm-hmm. You need to decide, what am I going to do with this? And telling me that there's only one option is actually not an option.
Yep.
Right? The option is when you have more than one. Mm-hmm. So your job is to find more than one. Mm-hmm. So that's generating options. And the third one is engage actively. And this is the testing, the fail fast kind of idea. You have to engage on the topic. Don't live in your Excel spreadsheet behind your laptop, intellectualizing it. You need to go out into the world, test it either with the person you're negotiating with or somebody who influences that person. There needs to be that aspect. Shall we take an example?
Sure.
Okay. So I asked you to think of a situation. So what would be your situation that you want to apply this 3-step assess, generate, and engage?
Yeah, I think quite a relatable example, and for most individual leaders, would be that you're asked to take on 2 projects at the same time. You have limited bandwidth. Both of those projects need you. They need your expertise, and you're already stretched with one as it is. So, it's happened to me where I've had these 2 projects. I was already stretched, and both opportunities were really great opportunities for me to grow. Both managers wanted their projects to run smoothly, and they wanted me on there. But the client still wanted me to have the first project as my main project because that's what I was already committed to. But the second project that came about was one where I could grow and learn, and it happens very often.
Yes.
And it's always about negotiating your time, your effort. How can you delegate those kinds of things? And it's a hard one to navigate.
And also a standard one to navigate.
Yes.
This happens to us on
All
a
the time.
All the time. So it's good to have some mechanism for quickly going through it so it doesn't take you 6 months
Absolutely.
to sort out how
And you
do
don't
this.
have it,
Right?
either.
Okay, so let's apply our steps to this. So to remind us, step 1 was assess the situation. Step 2 was generate some options. And step 3 was engage on those options. So let's jump into step 1, which is assess the situation.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then you tell me quickly the answers to them, and we'll see how does that kind of play into you getting a better understanding of the context.
All right.
Okay. So the first thing that you do is you do a self-assessment. Self-assessment is you sitting with yourself and asking yourself some questions. So, Appa, what are you trying to achieve here? So there's 2 projects, great opportunity, but what do you want? What is the singular goal? What do you want?
So for me, it would be ideal that I could take the new opportunity. However, that would require me to limit my availability for the first project. So I would definitely need another person to delegate something to. So yeah, my goal is to make sure that I can do both and give more attention to the second project while still managing the first one and making sure the client relationship is intact.
Okay, so your goal is work on both with the focus on one more than the other.
Yes.
You want to do the strategic work.
Correct.
But you also said very nicely, you said, I might need somebody else.
Yes.
So put that into your generate options.
Yep.
You need to ask for that. So that concept we put there. Okay, next question. Do you actually have influence?
I think I do have influence because I was personally asked for both of those projects. The first one I have been running for quite a while. So I was one of the main people that held the knowledge there. And for the second one, I had an expertise that they required.
So typically that question, do I have influence? If you say no, if I was sitting right next to you, I'd be like, are you crazy? Of course you do. So the question of do I have influence, the answer should always be yes, I have influence. And then saying, what is the influence? So that's great. So you said, yes, I have influence. And the influence is on one project, you have longevity and therefore you have understanding of the project. In the second one, you had a specialty skill. You held the knowledge.
Yep.
Right? So you've articulated, yes, I have influence. And what is that influence? Okay, great. Let's talk about, again, going back to what you want to achieve. I want to work on both. They're great opportunities, but I want to do a different format on it.
Yes.
So keeping that in mind, what would be the cost of doing that? If that's the solution you end up with, what's the cost of doing that?
I mean, I can tell you what would be the cost of not doing it. Which would be probably lots of over hours, trying to be a jack of all trades, and truly master of none. Energy, reputation, because if I mess up on one of those projects, that could eventually show badly on me. I mean, work-life balance, of course. I do think it's important because all of it kind of links together. And if I don't feel good, my health, if I don't feel good, I can't do a good job. And I would have to switch context. This context switching, which is a big price to pay when you're doing multiple things at the same time. Between meetings, you have to constantly switch context, and this takes away from the deep thinking.
Yeah, and actually in the way that you were doing strategic consulting work within your own organization, context switching, we don't really think about that load. That let's say in 3 hours you had 3 different kinds of meetings.
Absolutely.
It requires you to engage very differently. So yes, I understand that as a cost.
Yeah.
So if I were to summarize, you have a lot of costs
A lot of
that you've
costs.
listed out. If I were to pick 1, 2, 3 just for this thing, one I would say is the level of time that you would need,
Absolutely.
hours that you need to put in.
Hours.
Hours has an impact on work-life balance,
Yes,
energy,
agreed.
all of that.
Agreed.
Hours, very key one, reputation.
Yep. I think
Because-
we don't think of this
Yes.
often. We think if we do more, we're going to be recognized for more.
Yeah.
But then you're also recognized for the mistakes you make.
Correct. Exactly. Okay, so good. You have now an understanding of two primary ones, time with its underlying things, and the second one is reputation.
I would say context switching. Can we keep that as the
Yeah,
third?
sure. Okay, context switching. And I think most of us can when we're evaluating something that's more than one,
Mm-hmm.
that we need to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have to manage two kinds of teams,
Yes.
like I have in the past, I've managed a sales team and an innovation
Mhm,
team.
mhm.
It requires you to constantly switch hats in a way.
Yes, absolutely.
on
The
that.
hats.
Okay. So you now know why you're doing it, what influence you have, what is the cost. Let's talk about the benefit. The benefit of doing both projects in a slightly different context. What was the benefit to you?
So for me, the first one, and I guess the most important one, was that it was a growth opportunity.
Mhm.
So it was a place where I could push myself to do work that I hadn't done properly before. The first one was already running, so I was already on it for a while, which also led to a little bit of boredom on the project. So visibility was a good one, of course, because the second project was a high visible one, and just to do more senior work on the second project.
Okay. Now, the reason that we've done these 4 questions, what are you trying to achieve? What influence do I have? What is the cost? What is the benefit? Is because now you can articulate it to yourself. Sometimes it's all in our head.
Yep.
And we think about it kind of in the back, but it helps to articulate,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even write it down.
Absolutely.
So it's very clear to you and gives you confidence knowing what you know.
Yep.
That I call that a self-assessment, a self-audit. It's good to have that before you go out into the world to test anything.
Mm-hmm.
A word of caution. You listed out really, in Hindi we would say lamba chauda, which means a long and broad list of negatives, costs.
Yeah.
But your list of benefits were really short.
Yep.
Right? My word of caution is this: just because one list is longer than the other doesn't mean anything. Because the benefits, you haven't weighted them.
That's completely it.
Yeah. So just don't think that just because I made a long list of costs, the cost is more.
Yeah.
It isn't. So you have to be aware when you do this audit,
Mm-hmm.
that volume is not what counts on
No,
this.
agreed. And also I think values, and we spoke about this as well, like what do you value more? Because there have been times when I have sacrificed my work-life balance for a reason that I value more than my work-life balance. So that's what you mean by the weighting,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Okay, let's move to, now you've done a self-assessment, let's talk about the people around you. So let's do a little bit of an assessment. Let's call that a stakeholder assessment.
Yeah.
So let's start with who. Who are you talking to? Who are your stakeholders in this specific negotiation of these 2 projects?
So of course the managers of both projects,
Mm-hmm.
my current team,
Mm-hmm.
my new team,
Mm-hmm.
the client
Yeah.
of the first project that I was managing. Those were, I would say, my direct stakeholders.
Okay. Let's talk about the indirect ones.
Yeah. So the indirect ones would be the demand management team, for example, within the organization. If there was a capacity planner, that person would also need to be involved, because I would need to know who else in the team was not active at that point on a project.
Sure. And you could even, maybe secondary ones might even be like your capacity planner. It could be of preparation, is stretching yourself to say, who's the non-obvious ones?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that you want that is you talked about testing your ideas.
Yeah.
The non-obvious ones are the ones that you want to test because they don't have anything to win or gain from it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can test your ideas. So stretch yourself to think beyond the boss, the team, the client, the immediacy, and widen your horizon to include a few more people so that you can test your concepts with them.
Mm-hmm. So maybe even someone who had been in a similar position, if I had known.
Correct.
But the HR business partner is an interesting one, and maybe it's just a question, because going to HR is often seen as quite a negative thing.
So if you go to HR to complain,
Yes.
maybe you're seen as the snitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you're going to HR for advice,
And this is normal to go to HR for advice. It's a genuine question.
So I'm actually trying not to look terribly shocked and surprised by this, but that's the job of HR, human resource, right? It is the job of HR or HR business partners is to help coach, guide, provide insight, and we are remiss in not using them in that role. We should think of them in that role and have them step into that role. Of course, if your HR business partner is completely, utterly useless, fine.
Of course.
Right? That's a different story.
Yeah, but this is really interesting for me because, yeah, I think a lot of people have the idea that you go to HR when something is wrong, and not to help yourself figure out what are the cards that you could play.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
And it's different in every organization in the sense that some organizations' HR are unfortunately just the person who processes payroll, or the person who pushes the button to release your performance review. Yes, some organizations have that kind of HR. Some organizations don't even have HR. My suggestion is simply, yes, HR is one. Don't forget about them. If your organization is large enough to have one, leverage them if they're good. And if they're not, it's fine. Find alternatives.
Okay.
Yeah?
Thanks.
Okay.
Let's move on.
That part was about assessing the situation. Rapidly, you did your own little audit. Then you looked into the world outside of you. You made a list of people so you know who you can go test your ideas with.
Okay. Understood.
So let's now look at what gets in the way of doing all of this. And the reason that I say what gets in the way is there are things that support your thinking. And like we talked about procrastination and avoidance, those are barriers to your thinking.
Yeah.
And these barriers get in your way of actually putting yourself in that person's shoes. It stops you from building empathy. And having empathy is crucial in a negotiation because then you can plan for responses. So that's my reasoning for why you should. So I'm going to again ask you a few questions and then we'll get to the answers and we'll see what that part around empathy building looks like.
All right.
So empathy building is I need to understand why this person would say yes or no or maybe, whatever that person's response is. So I want to understand their context. So let's start with the very first one. There's three, just so you know. One, rational. We're all really good at coming up with rational reasons why somebody will say yes or no.
Yeah.
Second one is emotional reasons. Third one is political reasons. And then there is another one which for me fits into all of these, but we'll talk about it's environmental. But let's start with these first three.
Okay.
So Appa, we're now picking your stakeholder group, the person who makes a decision, which is your current boss, new boss, not necessarily the client because the client receives it. So these two people, let's keep them in mind. You're visualizing them. One of them is Andreas and the other one is called Arun. Okay. So you have two men, one Indian, one German, just to picture real people, right? And you're having this conversation with them. What might be their rational reasons for them to not allow you to manage two projects at the same time?
So if I'm thinking about Germany, when I worked there, a lot of it was policy. You just couldn't work overtime on paper.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to. So policy, any kind of legal things.
Yeah.
The other thing would be that one person, my first boss, say Andreas, wanted to keep me for himself because he knew I had a good client relationship and he knew that I was driving it. That it was not possible for him to want to share me. Let's say that could be another one.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm really thinking negatively, I have had this experience that maybe one of them didn't want me to have the opportunity.
Yeah, sure. That can absolutely happen.
So it could be a political reason also.
Sure. Well done, you. You already picked out the political reason. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's also talk about it in a positive way.
Yeah.
Why would they want to make this work? What are their rational reasons for wanting to make this work, that you can be allowed to do two projects?
Because they're not insecure. So that
sure.
Could be one
Emotional reason.
Emotional stability in your manager. Another one could be that, he knows that if the team looks good in general, then that would make him look good as well. Or he's a manager that helps his people grow.
Yeah.
So those kinds of reasons could be there as well.
Can I add a few that you possibly
maybe I
have?
haven't thought of.
Yeah, some that you might have, just so you get a feel for. We don't necessarily have to categorize them into rational, emotional, and political, but I just want to give you three lenses, right, so that you don't forget about something.
Yeah.
So rational, always, like you said, policy, law, guidelines. They've announced something, and so you have to stick to that. Those could be the reasons, right? Those are rational reasons. Rational reasons could also be, just as an example, could also be the client relationship.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Of course.
I own the relationship, I don't want to share it with you.
Yes.
Okay. Emotional reasons, like you said, this person just doesn't want to give you the opportunity, or this person is such a lovely person, they want to give you the opportunity, whichever way that goes.
Or there's a political reason that someone needs to be on the project, all of those things.
Yes. And a combination of all of this is in Hindi we say, khichdi, it's a stew. So you don't really have to put them into 3 columns and write them out. But it helps to understand that it's not just one motivation. And usually, and I'm saying this anecdotally, people end up saying, oh, he doesn't like me. Actually, it goes far deeper than like. So having to think about, even if you think that this person doesn't like you and that's why they may or may not support you, it goes far deeper to think about emotional, rational, political reasons.
Yep, agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
Let's talk about environmental, because you told me about Roger Martin.
Yeah, I love him. Yeah. He's a strategy director at IDEO, and I love his question. And a lot of people use as strategic thinkers that what would have to be true for a particular situation to actually play out. Yeah. So in this case, it would be that there would need to be a budget for me on the second project. Yes, they asked me for it, but have they actually budgeted for me? If I am going to lead both of these projects, we needed to make another headcount available. Does that person even exist? As I said, with the capacity planner, are there people actually without anything to do that, or with the amount of expertise that would be required to replace me? Those kinds of things.
I'm going to throw one more in. So another one, what assumption has to be true is that you have no competition.
Yep.
Right? Because if you had competition and there were 3 people who wanted this, then they don't have to allow you to double up because somebody else can get it.
Correct.
Right? So if you have competition...
I didn't even think of that.
So that's something else to put into your stakeholder group when you're thinking about your assessment of who all are at play. A competition. Other people who want to do the same thing as you.
Yep. That's true, actually.
Yeah? Okay. So what we've done now, very quickly, was to assess the situation. You've done your audit. You've done your own stakeholder assessment. You've now added competition into your stakeholder assessment. You've now thought about what are their reasons for supporting or not supporting you, whether that's rational, emotional, political, environmental. Okay, let's go to step 2.
All right.
You've got all of this context now swimming around in your head. What use is that if it's just swimming in your head? Let's take that and let's creatively generate some options. Okay. What does generate options mean? Okay. We talked about this in a previous episode. I believe it was episode 3. We should go back and revisit it. So let's talk about choice and constraint mindset. Okay. So shall I introduce that?
So I remember, so if I can just go back to it. So choice mindset is when you think that, you have a lot of options.
Yes.
And a constraint mindset is when you think you have only one of your options. So it's always better to be in that choice mindset to help you brainstorm options that you can, to generate options. As a design thinker, I would love to do this in a time box, because otherwise you can really get into the loop of
this goes back to your procrastination thing. You will just kind of keep intellectualizing it but not actually do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So may I suggest a time box?
Yep.
Okay. So a time box to me when you generate options is, if you are the kind who does it on your phone or you're old school post-it note kind of person, is sit down, don't set a timer, sit down and just go.
Yeah.
Write down every single idea. Don't judge it. Or like an ex-client of mine used to say, don't prejudge it by saying this is a good idea or a bad idea. Yep. Just write them down till your brain dries up with it.
Yep. Deferred
so just go without any judgment, classically called a brainstorm.
Yep.
Don't categorize nothing. Don't even set a timer. If your option generation lasts 90 seconds, it lasts 90 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
If it lasts about 15 minutes, also good.
Mm-hmm.
If it goes beyond 15 minutes, I don't think you're brainstorming. Then you're intellectualizing and you are categorizing and deciding.
And you can always use the first brainstorm to come up with better ideas. So, I mean, for me, if I can just like, I would do it differently, but for me right now, just to say it, I think the options that I'm looking at is that I do both myself.
Yeah.
I do one with a new person, taking up the first project, so helping me with support.
Yeah.
I can say no to the second project.
Exactly.
I can collude with my competition.
Yeah.
To understand how I could support them, maybe in smaller tasks, so I could still be involved but not have any accountability.
Yeah.
I could leave the first project and join the second one. Probably unlikely. Okay, I'm judging, but probably unlikely. But
no judgment.
No judgment, but that's an option.
Yes.
Or I leave the company.
Ooh, dramatic. But dramatic. Yes, it is
also
an option. Yeah, sure. Okay. I have a curiosity question now. Now that you've listed out almost 5 options and leave the company was a dramatic one. Yeah. But now that you've listed out 5 options, since this is a real life example and this has happened to you, when you actually did this on yourself, did you actually come up with 5 options?
No. Okay. I did this process, I think, in my head.
Yeah.
A little bit, right? Sure. And I think everyone does it a little bit.
Yeah.
So eventually what did happen was that I was able to negotiate that I would receive some support.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also because the second manager and my first manager were supportive of me, and they both saw this as a growth opportunity. So I didn't have that much pushback.
Sure.
So because I believe that you really kind of feel the pains of the negotiation when things are not going your way.
True.
And I have had that situation happen to me in the past, and in the recent past, and I do see the merit in doing it in this detail that you're prescribing, almost like a medicine, but you are, because I was not prepared for the difficult parts.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, that's right. We're all kind of, when we play it out in our head, we're only looking at best case scenario, although the worst case scenario we can easily prepare for.
Yeah, and also understanding that not all people are supportive. Not all people will be easy to work with, and I think this is something that I've been realizing over the past year. And I really resonate with your approach, because I do think it's important, and it really gets you over the come on, just write it down.
Yeah,
it's to get over that fear.
Yes. So. Since you already, spoiler alert, you already told us which option you chose.
So I did. I mean,
so let's apply the BATNA to it, though. Let's apply the BATNA, reservation price, and ZOPA, just to conceptually land this. That generating options is also applying the 3 concepts that we learned in episode 3. So your BATNA is best alternative to a negotiated agreement. So the agreement that you would have liked, which is the one that you did end up with, though, is I would like to do both projects, but with a little bit of support. Let's say you did not have that. Now that you generated 5 options, which of these 5 options would have been BATNA in a way is like your backup plan, right? Yeah. So which one would have been, which one would you have chosen?
That I would have just stayed on the first project.
Okay, great. So you listed out 5 options and you selected option A to be your BATNA.
Correct.
Great. Okay, let's do reservation price. And in the previous episode as well, I said I don't really like reservation price because to me it's very mathematical. But what I mean is your bottom line. What is that least acceptable point for you? And a non-negotiable, let's say, right? What would that have been?
I think at that point it was to do both projects because I wanted the visibility.
Yeah.
Today it would have been to just stay on the first one because I have a child.
Yeah. Sensible, because now you know your trade-offs.
Yes.
Because you thought about that. Excellent. Now let's talk about ZOPA. ZOPA is the zone of possible agreement. So I've got one project, stay on the first project, one project, I'm going to do that. Your reservation price or your point would have been do both projects. We know what your ideal answer solution was. And so that sweet spot is do both projects with support. So that's where you are. We talked about this just at the start of the episode. Preparation helps you guide people to the answer that you want. And it's about staying focused on guiding people to that option.
Yeah. So that's amazing because that just shows it, right? Like if I'm negotiating today, my negotiation would be that I'm not going to do both projects without support at all.
Yeah.
And I would only do one. But at that point, if someone had said, okay, no, you're not going to get support, you've got to do it, I would have said yes.
Yes. And you perhaps would have said yes because you were also at a stage phase in your life career where the cost was acceptable.
Yeah.
And today it isn't.
It isn't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's all. Okay. So what have we done so far? We've done step 1, assess the situation. We've done step 2, generate options. Now let's do step 3, which is engage with that stakeholder group on these options. Right? Now you're very clear what your options are. So engage simply means go out and talk to people.
Yep.
Do not leave behind your Excel spreadsheet. Do not live behind your notebook. You need to get out of in front of your laptop, get out and start talking to people. That's literally what engage means. So I think you would have done a wonderful job because you actually do like to engage with people.
Correct.
So tell me quickly, with the range of stakeholders, what did that engagement look like?
I don't remember exactly, but I do remember talking to both of the managers, having that open dialogue, telling them about my situation, trying to understand what kind of skills they wanted, how my expertise, the one that they were looking for, was a perfect fit, kind of having those conversations with them to also implant the idea that it would be a good opportunity for me, but also how that plays out for the company, what that means for our visibility as a team. I did also speak to the demand person to ensure that there was people, who I could at least have a list of the people who were not working at that point, who were not on a client project, so that I could even understand, okay, if I had worked with them before, what kind of skills they had, would they be able to take on certain parts of the role? That's kind of what I did. I also spoke to my partner, who was one of the sponsors of the entire team, to kind of see if he could make some arrangements.
Ooh, using some influence. Okay, all right. Let's talk about the one that you didn't think of, which was HR.
I didn't think of HR.
Right. So if you were to, and we were talking about go out and talk to them, the kinds of conversation that you can have with HR and keep that in the back of your mind for the next one. Hey, Rosette. I don't know why I want to call HR Rosette. Okay, so hey, Rosette. This is a situation I'm in. Has this happened before? Open-ended question, in the sense that she has to tell you a story. Then that way, what you pick up is who did it happen to? Go talk to them. You're creating you're being a detective. So you ask that question. Has this happened before? What did that look like? How did they land on it? Specifically, she's also going to tell you, oh, that's never going to work because the policy says this. Or she's going to tell you, oh, that one, that's in Czech Republic and not in Poland, and the law does not allow you to do that.
Yep.
So it allows you to do what you normally would Google. You go and ask a person who's an expert on that topic.
Yeah.
That's what HR would look like.
Interesting. Right? I think this is something that I'm definitely taking out of this, is go to HR more often, because I've always been so terrified of going to HR that I feel that I would be branded as this bad person for asking too many questions. But I find it's so stupid now that I think about it.
I also want to know, how does everybody know that you're talking to HR?
Oh, people don't know. That's true.
Yeah.
That's also
so if you ping Rosette on Teams, not everybody's looking at your Teams to know
that's
that you
true.
Rosette.
That's true. That's true.
And if
that's true.
And then if you had asked her for a 15-minute Teams call, nobody knows that you had it.
Everybody is the 50 people in my head.
Yes.
Obviously.
Exactly. I think this is what the Germans call Kopfkino. Okay. It's the cinema in your head.
Yeah, well, welcome to the movies.
Yes. So, okay. So I'm glad that you're beginning to see that this is... Okay. Let's also talk about another one, which is competitors.
Okay.
So let's say that there was somebody else who wanted both projects as well. Hypothetical, you would go out to that person and say, I'm making this up. Hey, those two are really cool projects. I'm on one. And then you have an option to be very direct and say, I'd like to do both, but I know you also want to do both. So like you earlier said, colluding with the competition.
I think colluding with the competition has always been...
I think that is an option by being honest and direct. That's one. You could also, I won't say be dishonest, but you don't have to reveal. But you could go out for a coffee and allow this person to share their enthusiasm of what they're doing. That doesn't mean that you have to reveal it. Mm-hmm. So just consider that HR and competition are both people, groups, individuals that you need to keep in mind when you negotiate anything that is of this sort of importance.
Yeah.
Or
And
this sort of topic.
this sort of topic, and also I think, I mean, of course, you said it's not about being dishonest. I think a lot of the time, the movie in our head is also telling us that we must be liked by everybody. And sometimes it just happens that when you're in a negotiation
Okay.
and you get what you want, it pisses other people off. It's just like something which I think is an interesting thing to think about. A lot of women I know, including myself, we want to be liked.
Okay, but my question is, okay, let me ask a real question, not a hypothetical one. Has anyone actually come up to you in these many years of working and told you to your face with words in an email or physically? Has anyone ever told you, I don't like that, that was not okay, I'm unhappy that you got this opportunity? Has anyone ever said that?
Not the opportunity, but the method in which. If because I spoke to people, they didn't.
Yeah.
So it was almost, I mean, the person has felt that I kind of went around them, or I should have been more forthcoming. It doesn't happen to men so much, I think. It does happen to women quite a lot. I don't know if it's happened to you, but it has happened to me that I have been told that me going after my opportunities is I should be more open about it and not, for example, reveal it more.
Okay, I've got a pensive look on my face because
Like
has
the
it
hustle
happened
element.
to me? So people don't like hustle.
Yeah.
Right? Essentially. So I'll give you an example. With my previous firm, somebody told me, I think Gitanjali is managing me.
Yeah.
And when somebody said that, I said, and what's the problem with that? I actually said that. What's the problem with managing you? I don't know
Were you
what you
managing
mean.
up?
Yeah, I was managing what this person was doing. I was giving them the information to help me.
Yeah.
Why would I not do that? Like, I don't see any problem with that,
Yeah.
right?
I also
The other
don't.
one,
Yeah.
So the other one that I wonder, yes, I know you want to be inherently nice. How does this make you unnice? Again,
Yeah.
is it the movie in your head?
I don't know.
So I also want to tell you, we've discussed this in episode 1 and 2 when we were talking
Yes.
about it very often. There is a social penalty.
Yeah, social penalty.
So I'm not saying that there isn't a penalty, but maybe okay. Let me offer an idea, perhaps in terms of transparency.
Mm-hmm.
So just now I was saying you don't have to reveal to this person that you also want the project. That doesn't make you dishonest. You just didn't reveal something.
Mm-hmm.
That's all, right? So I don't have to reveal to you right now that I have a stomach ache. That doesn't make me dishonest, right? Just simplifying it.
Mm-hmm.
It just means I didn't tell you that I have a stomach ache. Literally like that. But now let's flip that around into transparency. So just an example doesn't mean it's a great one. In my previous firm, I wanted a certain job, like a certain role. Okay, I wanted to be global client serving partner at some point. I wanted an account that was mine to run and my team and my relationships. And I say my, because that's not what I mean, but I wanted the title and I wanted the client engagement that comes. It was very exciting to me to be able to engage with the client with that title because it opens doors. So I was very clear that that title is important to open doors and the title is important to get funding for the things that you want to do. So it wasn't necessarily only my ego. Yes, my ego was involved, but there were other aspects. Mm-hmm. What I did was, again, we don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm laying it out as an option because it's our job to generate options, right? I just started telling people about it. Yeah, I want to be GCSB. Yes, I want to be this global client serving partner. And I would honestly say, this is my aspiration. Yeah, I've always thought I would be really good at it because I have this skill, this skill, this skill. Or when I would stand up to present something, I'd be like, I would explain what background I have, and I'd say, and in the future, I'd like to be a GCSB. So I owned who I wanted to be and what role I wanted. So I think that is an option as well. You don't have to feel devious. You can just be transparent. I want it.
Yeah. But yeah. No, there's no but.
Okay.
There's no but.
All right. Let's look back to engaging.
Yeah.
So you've done a bunch of conversations.
Mhm.
You've engaged with your competition, with HR, with the bosses, you've laid out, and all of your self-assessment that you did and all of your generating options is what you're testing in your engagement. Now, the trick is you don't go and talk to somebody once. That's not what I mean. So what I mean is it's a little bit of like a rinse and repeat.
Yep.
The reason I say rinse and repeat is because you need to continuously calibrate. So, for example, if HR tells you, you know what, this is not allowed in company policy, you need to go back and look at your options and come up with new options or eliminate some options. Right? So you need to go back repeatedly, revisit, review, refine all the time. Or if you hear from somebody, you know what, this client is actually going bankrupt, you might decide you don't want that second project. Right?
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
makes sense.
So what the idea is, it's not one step. It is just something that you do all the time. You revisit it every time there's a little bit of new information. So if you know that you have all of these variables and you get a little bit of information about that variable, whether that's legal or its capacity, that now there's nobody on the bench, there's no one who would be able to support you. Does that change your options then? Does it change your BATNA then? Because there's no one to support you. So the idea is you need to constantly be calibrating your options, which I like to call as rinse and repeat.
Makes sense. I didn't do that.
Okay. Well, now you know.
Yeah, now I know.
Okay, so let me quickly revisit a little bit our 3 steps. Quickly. Step 1, assess the situation. You did yourself, stakeholders, reasoning, emotional, political, etc. Then you generated options. Of the options, you applied the 3 principles you know: partner, reservation price, and SOPA. And then you did this engage. You talk to people. You will now going forward, you know, to continuously calibrate this, to keep going back and revisiting it, so that whatever option you end up with, the solution. So you had a situation and you've got to a solution. You and the other person or people are more comfortable with it. So you don't treat it as a one time you said no, now that's it, I'm walking away. Now I'm just leaving the company. You go back and you revisit. So I want you to get into that habit of, you need to keep talking about these things. One time somebody told you, oh, that's never going to work, doesn't mean it's never going to work. It means that one thing is not going to work. That doesn't mean you can't come back with another option. That's why you generated a long list of options. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so my question to you now is, now that you know these 3 steps, what do you think is something that has changed for you? They're like, yeah, I hadn't thought of that before.
Yeah. To be honest, I'll tell you the option that I mean, I said it earlier, but what eventually happened was that I asked my manager, the first one, if it were Andreas,
Yes.
if it would be possible to get a junior on our team who would be supporting me, to create assets for both the projects. I would still be the client-facing person, so I could free up my time for the second project to do a bit of more strategic work. I also volunteered to coach the junior, but maybe in the long run, and I did actually end up being on that first project for quite a while longer. So the workload was not ideal. But I think if I had done this now, thinking about the situation, if I had done it again, I would have possibly given him an end date.
Oh, yeah.
For when the junior person or another team would basically take over my role. So I could then kind of slowly come off the first project and, either free up my own capacity or, give more time to the second project or, have some other interests, right? Which I didn't do.
Okay. All right. I think under some circumstances, you may feel uncomfortable having generated options that don't feel right in the first instance. But I want to make a case for generating options. Going through these steps, 3 steps, is so important because the risk of not doing it means that you don't proceed, grow in your career. The minute we make the connection as women, and I really say this is specific to women because men have been trained to do it all their lives, I think. But as women, we need to connect the fact that the risk of not negotiating means that we will not grow in our career. We will not advance in our career. And that goes a step further. I know I'm 20 years older than you, but I think what goes a step further is you are now learning to advocate for yourself. As you grow and you get higher in the organization in terms of experience and levels of leadership, you also have a certain responsibility to negotiate for others, for your team, stand up for your team. In some cases, depending on where you are in an organization and your role, you might also have to be able to negotiate on behalf of your company with another company. And so this is not a skill that is only as you as an individual, so APA as an individual, but APA as a leader, APA as a team leader, APA as a team player with other teams. So it's essential to have the basics down of what does this look like, because you have the responsibility to be a better negotiator, to advance your career and to advance others' careers.
I think I always do better when I'm negotiating for others than when I negotiate for myself. And it comes down, I would say again, when we speak about it, I think it comes down to not only confidence, but also this people pleasing aspect that I would, again, want the need to be liked. Not for me, but I'm talking about in general. I feel like these are probably the main aspects that hinder that kind of negotiation.
You're really wrapping this episode up by helping me say that, if you're a people pleaser, you want to be liked, all of those things would surface when you do your self-assessment, when you do your own audit, and which is why practice and preparation is not only critical, it's a must do, and it can be kind of fun to do. Yeah. And I think you shouldn't lose track of the fact that this is fun. You're negotiating your career. Yes. You're advancing yourself. You're helping yourself or your team, but you're in service of something that is important.
Yes, I
and with
completely agree.
A lot of fun. So practice and preparation.
Absolutely. So in this episode, we introduced the detective approach to help you structure and prepare for your future negotiations. We walked through an example of how you can do this and hopefully inspired you to try. Let us know how it went in the comments below. That's a wrap for this episode of Negotiator. If you like this episode, share it forward and help us all rise together.
Your voice matters. Stand up for yourself. And when you can, stand up for someone else too.